So, unfortunately for us, we did a whole recording on House of the Dragon, episode 3, season 2. JD and I did it. Caleb had to miss that evening, and it did not work, safe to say. So, we've been having technical difficulties with Riverside. We recorded the whole thing. JD dropped out about 3/4 of the way through it. I was filibustering with the best of them, man. I was holding the dead air. I was actually proud to get that out, and then come to find out, not salvageable at all. We didn't get the full track, so we lost the episode. It's dead. It's done. Forget about it. So we don't want to leave you hanging as far as episode 3 goes, because there was some stuff to talk about. So what we're going to do real quick is me and Caleb here are just going to jot through the main important parts of episode 3 real quick, so we can at least, get our take on it out there. So a few big things happen in that episode. I'm not going to recap it, but one of the main issues was Rhaenyra didn't want to take action in this episode. This is another episode where we saw Rhaenyra having some hesitance. She didn't want to make the tough plays. Her council's getting annoyed with her. And so that was one of the main things me and JD talked about, was kind of our frustration with Rhaenyra. So I was curious if you felt this during that, Lub, and that frustration being, it kind of... Viserys has that. Her father had that reputation of not being decisive. He kept peace, but he also didn't make the hard decisions. And it felt like that was happening a lot with Rhaenyra. And we thought after Luke's death at the end of season 1, it was like, okay, game time. Rhaenyra's like, it's over. I want war. We're coming for it. And then I think Jaehaerys' death kind of stopped her in her tracks there. And so it's just been really frustrating watching her and being like, okay, it's too late. Stop trying to find a way out of this. You need to make a decision. You're losing confidence in your council. The Team Green is starting to gain ground. You have to do something. And so JD and I were talking about how that was just frustrating us a bit, and we need to see her step it up. So did you feel that way at all coming out of episode 3?
Not really, actually.
Okay.
I just think after 85 years of peace, I think war is her last resort. Like, she really doesn't want to go to war after what her father taught her and raised her to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think her council's annoying. They're just like a bunch of griping old men arguing all the time. So, but I do get that action must be taken, which is kind of cool. What happens after her and Alicent talk, where she's like, okay, now I know that it's too late. So, yeah, there was some hesitancy because, her bannermen and the Vale, the North, and whoever else were on her side were probably getting a little hesitant, like, what are we supposed to do here? So she does need to make a decision.
Yeah, and I think this episode helped that for sure. Because, again, we saw that coming in episode 4, which we'll get into, where it was like, okay, she is ready. And so that was so nice to see, because we had this talk, and it was like, bro, you got to do something. I know, I get it. But the way she described it in episode 4, it was like, all right, that works for me. But, man, I was just really hoping we get to see her unleash. So... we did something else she unleashed in that episode 3, which I wanted to talk about real quick, was 4 dragon eggs. She sent Rhaena off with 4 dragon eggs and her children and said, you're going to be a nanny to my kids, and you're going to watch these dragon eggs until they hatch. 2 of them, or she says one of them is for, I think, Viserys or one of the kids.
Right.
And we need the other 3 safe, so play it safe. So... You notice anything about those eggs, Lub? Anything pop out to you?
Well, and on top of that, she's going to Pentos. And that
Bingo.
is where, across the narrow sea, where Dany goes one day and is gifted 3 dragon eggs, and one's blue, one's black and red, and one's like gold.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just tell that blue one was standing out so thick, like just it was Viserion, like.
Right.
So yeah, that was a cool little Easter egg they threw in.
Dude, that I liked it. It was confirmed by the director of the episode, too. They said that is indeed the eggs that Daenerys Targaryen will end up having. A lot of people had an issue with it, because people always do, but the main gripe was they changed it. In the books, those eggs that Daenerys gets are stolen during the reign of Jaehaerys by a spurned, I forgot, somebody's wife, and she takes them off to Essos. And so that's how it happens. Right. And they're Dreamfire's eggs in the books. Now... I'm still going with that. I don't think these are Syrax's eggs. Some people are jumping to the conclusion. They never said those were Syrax's eggs. They have these eggs. And I still think it's Dreamfire's eggs, and maybe they just took them when they left King's Landing initially in season 1, because They made a point of Dreamfire looks like Drogon, Viserion, and Rhaegal. Like they have the same exact horn setup, the same everything. They're the same style of dragon. And we've seen various types of dragons, so it's got to be Dreamfire's kid still.
Right. I mean, she was on Dragonstone not too long ago. Like it's been only 3 weeks, a month.
Right. Exactly. So I think that's still the case. So I didn't mind them changing that at all. I thought that was a dope little thing to see there. Mm-hmm. Larys gets made Master of Whispers, whatever. Not a lot to talk about. I'm sure we all kind of saw that coming, but he's about to turn into Littlefinger there. So real quick, Daemon and Harrenhal. Daemon rolls up in a dope scene on Caraxes to Harrenhal. Super cool cinematic scene where he lands in the storm on top of it, the biggest castle in Westeros. And this was another frustrating thing I was talking to JD about. I'm curious if you feel the same. What the hell was his strategy? So, like, you're going to land on Harrenhal, the biggest castle in Westeros, with no plan. You're just going to walk through the halls and hope that there's not, like... What if there's just a group of soldiers? Like, not even a fully housed castle, but, like, he's walking around nothing. And I don't know if this came off to this way, too, but he looked goofy as hell. That's the least intimidating I've ever seen Daemon since this series started. When he starts walking down the stairs and he's holding... Dark Sister, like, super awkwardly, almost like it's the first time he's held his sword. I don't know. The whole scene just felt goofy to me. What did you think of the Harrenhal deal with him?
I don't think he had a plan. I think he just got pissed at Rhaenyra, left, like, all right, I'm going to go take Harrenhal, and we'll see what happens when I get there. But the look of the castle I love. Like, I don't know how they built the set for all the different rooms and hallways he's going through, but, like, damn, that castle's wild. And just, like, rain coming in through everywhere. I'm surprised they haven't fixed it up at all in the 100 years since Aegon. Like, it's a broken down castle for sure. But yeah, Daemon, I'm surprised it's so, like, empty too. No one's there. There was just one small room of people hanging out, and then the rest of the castle is basically abandoned. Like, why is Harrenhal so important if there's literally no one there, you know?
Right. I guess it's just purely location in the Riverlands or wherever it's at, because the whole thing just felt weird. It just felt awkward. But he walks into the room and obviously I forgot what guy's name, something strong, is sitting in there. He's like, hey, welcome, you want some venison and peas? Like, come on in. He's like, you trying to poison me? He's like, look, I don't know how I can make this any clearer. I'm glad you're here. We like you. We hate Team Green. Laura Strong's a dirtbag. Like, welcome. We've got your back. Thank you for coming. So that was an interesting little setup there. But the big thing is obviously leaning into the haunting of Harrenhal. That's always been a thing. They briefly mentioned it in Game of Thrones, but Harrenhal is haunted. And we kind of got a very unique aspect. We haven't seen a lot of scenes like these in Game of Thrones. It was reminiscent of Daenerys in the tower when she's looking for her babies and she's being messed with by the warlock. But it was interesting. So it kind of felt like witchery to me. Obviously, you got the long white hair that looks like Geralt of Rivia immediately anyways. But, the whole feel to it, just the haunted, sharp edges, big, monstrous dark hallways in this crazy ancient castle. It just totally felt like The Witcher to me. It was a trip seeing young Rhaenyra, and then the shot of him out in the Godswood when he finally snaps out of it all, and the wide pan, just such a sick shot of him standing there at the edge of Harrenhal with Alice Rivers standing behind him telling him, you're gonna die in this place. Like, I thought it was a pretty cool little unique spin on Game of Thrones. We haven't seen a lot of scenes like that.
Yeah, and there's always that kind of supernatural aspect to Game of Thrones, so this isn't something we haven't seen before, because like you said, Dany. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And even the next episode, I do enjoy what's going on with Daemon, even though he's just, like, lost. Like, has no idea what's going on.
I don't know what's going on either. I think the only one who does know is Alice Rivers, which, again, that was a lady who's standing out in the courtyard. She's got an ambiguous story in Fire and Blood. She's mentioned a lot, but a bunch of people say a bunch of different things about her. Essentially, the consensus is she's a wood witch from Harrenhal who's lived there, for a couple hundred years at least. She's been around a while.
Oh, Alice Rivers.
And she's a witch, yeah. So she's basically another Melisandre coming into the picture here. That's what I feel like. But I have no idea what her motives are at this point.
Yeah, she's a very interesting character.
Yeah. All right, and then real quick, we had Rhaena chasing down Criston Cole across the meadow. We got to see Moon Dancer in action, which was a pretty sick little sequence. Did you like that at all? Was that kind of a cock tease? Criston Cole almost getting burned running to the trees, or what did you think of that little scene?
Oh, that's right. That's right. No, I like that scene. It got the anxiety building up for sure. Like,
Dude.
I didn't think they had a chance, and at the same time, the dragon was so far away, and then you cut to Criston Cole for a couple seconds, and it cuts back, and the dragon's like swooping down to the ground. It's like, holy shit,
Dude.
get out of there! So
God,
yeah, I
they're
love
so
it.
quick. And
Yeah.
the pull up at the trees, like, and the trees almost snapping from the force. Like, yeah, that was a dope shot. I think my favorite part of it was she reports to Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra's like, well, surely you can be positive it was Criston Cole, like, from the distance. She's like, it wasn't that much of a distance. She
Yeah.
looks at her like, she's like, well, I didn't engage. You told me to not engage. But I think Rhaenyra, like, respected that. She was like, okay, you got some spunk to you. Like,
Yeah,
straight up
right?
swept to the ground, and that was sick.
Yeah, she's badass.
And then before we head out, what do you think of the last scene in the Sept with Rhaenyra and Alicent, Emma D'Arcy and Olivia Cook absolutely cooking here? What do you think of their scene?
Oh, I loved it. It was a long overdue conversation, but it still happened too late. And
Right.
the whole time you're like, are they gonna talk about the Aegon the Conqueror's prophecy? Are they gonna get to that? Or is something gonna happen to where they don't even discuss that part of it? But they did. And
Yeah.
she's like, what did he say? And he's talking about, Aegon. And even Viserys, like, right before his death, still said Rhaenyra was the heir. And then on his deathbed, he's literally, like, in another world at that time, says Aegon's
Yeah.
name, and she thinks it's that. So, yeah, I loved how they got to that. And she's just like, no, that was a story Viserys told me about, Aegon the Conqueror's dream.
Right.
It's like, and then, Alicent's just like, oh my God, like, I don't even like my son in the first place, and now, like,
What have I done?
Yeah, what, Anakin, yeah. Oh my God.
I was just satisfied that we got that. Like, she made the face where it was like, yep, she knows she messed up.
Yeah.
It wasn't a mistake. She gets super defensive about it, but she makes that facial expression of, uh-oh.
Yeah, but
Uh-oh.
it's too late,
It is.
Like, she doesn't have the power anymore.
Right. And she's right about that. When she tells her, she goes, it doesn't matter what started this. It's too late. Go home.
Yeah.
Like, it's way too late. And finally, again, as we were talking about earlier, it's like, yeah, there's nothing to be done, Rhaenyra, other than war. And she has that line later where she's like, either I win the throne or I die. So she understands it now. But it was a satisfying scene for me. I thought both actresses killed it, and we finally got the miscommunication smoothed over. Like, all right, Alicent, you blew it. Cool. We're good. Let's go to war.
Yeah. Let's go to war.
Let's go to war. And speaking of, let's go to war.
Hello, and welcome into another episode of Why So Sidious, a Nerd Podcast. Joining me today is my co-host, David Cochran. And today we are covering House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 4, titled The Red Dragon and the Gold. Same name as the chapter in Fire and Blood as well. But of course, don't forget to check out some of our latest episodes. We have a novice nerd on Deadpool 3 villain, on the Deadpool 3 villain, and twin sister to Professor X, Cassandra Nova. And of course, our continuing coverage of The Acolyte. There's only, 2 episodes left. We're going to do an episode on 6 and 7, and then we'll cover that finale. Hopefully it's good. Stay tuned. And don't forget to follow us on social media, on Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube. Posting full-length videos if Riverside lets us. And this is your spoiler warning for Season 2, Episode 4 of House of the Dragon. You are a madman if you are here right now and you haven't seen the episode yet. So I hope you have, and we talked about it a little bit in the cold open, so please watch it, but I'm sure you have. Alright, do a summary of the episode before we get into it. So this is not a great episode for our King Aegon. He finds out his council is making plans without him, and Aemon throws salt on the wound, but it's too late to change the plans because Cole is ready to attack. He runs to Mommy for advice, but she tells him to just listen and do nothing, leading to his decision to join the battle. Daemon is still in Harrenhal on his ayahuasca retreat tripping balls. Rhaenyra returns to a disgruntled small council on Dragonstone who is tired of her patience to fight, but after speaking with Alicent, she knows what she must do. Princess Rhaenys declares that she must go to battle, and all agree. She arrives and wreaks havoc outside the small coastal keep's walls, but here comes the magnanimous Aegon II of his name to save the day. But he is at a disadvantage against the more experienced dragon and rider. When Vhagar appears, the king lets a cry out of joy, but when Aemon approaches and says Dracarys, a huge flame erupts from the dragon. Aegon's relief turns to horror. Both Sunfyre and Meleys are engulfed in flames, sending Aegon to the earth. Rhaenys flies away at first, but then comes back for more, kind of defeating Rhaegar in the sky. But as she's leaving for real, Vhagar comes in for the surprise kill, locking her teeth around the smaller dragon's neck, killing one of the best characters in the show and Rhaenyra's best advisor. Ring the bells for the queen who never was. Dang it. I know. So sad.
Not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair, man. It's not fair.
So, Will, who do you think won this episode? Is it green or is it black? I would probably say green.
It's got to be green, man. Rhaenys was such a key point to Team Black as far as wisdom, as far as experience, as far as battle prowess. She arguably is one of the best. Meleys, honestly, was probably the best dragon they had. I think she takes Caraxes. It'll be close. We haven't seen Caraxes fight another dragon, but she's more experienced. She's older. She's quicker. She's known, in the books, she's described as outpacing both Caraxes and Vhagar. So she's a faster dragon. And obviously, as we saw, she's an absolute unit. And boy, losing both of those, painful. And they lost Rook's Rest too. I mean, they ended up losing that battle too. So it's definitely Team Green here. Mm-hmm. And honestly, Aegon's result might even be more so Team Green win here. That might even be better for them. So I think Team Green definitely takes away the win. But God, pain.
I know. Well, let's get into the Team Green parts of this episode. So Aegon wants to know how Daemon got Harrenhal so easily, and Larys basically tells him that castle is more crippled than I am, which is so perfect. And Aemon basically tells him that Rook's Rest will cut off Dragonstone by the land side, like all the way around. There's nowhere for them to go. And Aemon basically knows more than the king, and he tells him that, Criston Cole told me. And he's like, have you two been plotting behind my back? It's like, gosh, damn. And then Aemon starts...
got off the phone.
Right?
Just got off the phone with him. He says things are going great.
Yeah. He didn't text me back all day.
I saw red, but he didn't respond.
Aemon starts speaking High Valyrian to keep it secret, but also kind of make him look bad, because when Aegon responds, he says, I have to make war or something like
Question mark.
Yeah. So he definitely wasn't studying in school like Aemon was.
No.
And it was so badass though, the way Aemon holds himself in this meeting. He is kind of slightly treasonous in a way, to where he's making the king look really bad and doing things behind his back, but just that High Valyrian is so cool.
Dude, what he's saying in it, where he's literally you hired a bunch of clowns to be your Kingsguard, which is what, again, we missed that from last episode, but that was one of the things me and JD were talking about, was these new Kingsguards are straight up clowns. Not only are they clowns and don't look like they're professional, but they also don't take their vows seriously, as they joked with Aegon last episode about we're sworn to be, celibate. Yeah, right. Laugh as he just stares at them, and then they kind of snap to it, and then they end up going to the whorehouse with him later in that episode. So
right, which
I'd even click that Aegon just hired his buddies to be the Kingsguard. He just hired his drinking buddies to be Kingsguard, and so. And then it clicked to me, too, why Aemon was going so hard in the scene was because of the retribution from last episode, where he was humiliated in the whorehouse by Aegon and all these drunk Kingsguards. So Aemon got great revenge here. He's just... It was just such a great display of what he's capable of when he doesn't care about being restrained. And he's a sharp one, man. Not just his chin and nose, but his mind, too.
Yes.
He's a sharp one.
Good-looking Squidward. Aegon's the king. Like, he could overrule it. He could do whatever he wants, but he just sits back down and goes like, okay, like, you know, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, he's not equipped to be king at all.
Right. He doesn't know what he's doing, and Alicent is struggling too. We saw the first scene with her. Like, she asked the Maester if he thought Viserys wanted Aegon to succeed.
Right.
Like, why are you asking him? How much are you doubting yourself right now?
And she's looking through all the books. She's she's reading the books. She's looking for the books that were in Viserys' room. I think she's trying to find something to do with Aegon's prophecy.
Yes, good call. I didn't even really put that exactly together, but she's looking for the Song of Ice and Fire, and the opening scene was she was holding the sculpture of Balerion, which was Viserys' favorite piece. And in season 1, we had kind of foreshadowing. Viserys dropped it, it shattered. And we all talked about in the episode, we're like, that's kind of foreshadowing of the House of the Dragon crumbling, you know, what's to come. And then this opening scene, she drops it while staring at it, and it shatters again, which kind of felt like they were doing it again. The foreshadowing was like, we already saw this scene last season, but so I wonder why they chose to show that again. But I think part of it was, she's reminiscing on Viserys and maybe looking for the wisdom of Viserys too. I don't know.
I'm surprised it survived the Aegon attack.
Right, jerk.
And Alicent gets a little moon tea as well. She's trying to stop another pregnancy.
Yeah.
And then Larys comes in. And they do have a nice little convo where she says basically, you know, Larys says, no matter how suited he thought Rhaenyra was for the throne, like the voices of history would say different because he's looking at the books.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, they will believe what they wish, and so will Aegon supporters. Like, many will die, and the victor will eventually sit the throne. The significance of Viserys' intentions died with him.
Yep.
So it's just like what her and Rhaenyra talked about in the last episode. It's too late.
Matter.
Like, it's gone now.
Yep. Yeah, that was a good little scene between them. And again, they're hammering the point home. Rhaenys did it last episode when she told Rhaenyra. She said, you know, well, pretty soon here, nobody's going to remember what started this war. And Rhaenyra said, it started when they usurped my throne. And it was like, yeah, maybe it did. Or, you know, maybe it started when Jaehaerys' head was cut off. Or maybe it started when Vhagar killed Luke, or maybe it started when Luke cut Aemon's eye out. You know, so there's just so many examples of this escalating, and it's just hammering the point home. Doesn't matter what happened. We're in the war now. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And later on, Aegon is bored by the council. Like, they don't seek my counsel or take my thoughts seriously. I'm just useless out there. And he goes to Alicent.
She is.
And she says, you know, do you think wearing the crown imbues you with wisdom? So, like, the second you're king, you think you're just the smartest person in the world. Like, you had Otto Hightower, who served 3 kings. You kicked him off. I ruled for Viserys when he was sick. And now I'm not even at these council meetings. Even when I was, you weren't listening to me. Which she does have a point.
Yeah.
And she basically says, you know, be silent and learn from the minds around you. Do nothing. Like, you're an idiot. Just sit back and enjoy the show.
Brutal. Coming off of... I mean, we've never seen a good exchange between these two. But yeah, when your mom says to her son and the king, do simply what's needed of you. Nothing. We don't need you. All you can do is ruin things right now. Do nothing. Like, this kid needs some love and affection. And I think he gets it from his dragon. I think that's the only place he gets love and affection from. It's a relationship with Sunfyre, as we saw later. But I felt bad for him.
I like that scene. I kind of felt bad for him, too.
Yeah, it's tough, bro. Again, he didn't want this position. You know, he really didn't. And is he a perfect kid? No, obviously not. But man, I just feel like he needs some love.
Yeah, they've done such a good job making these characters that don't have a lot of complexity to them in Fire and Blood.
Right.
Like the whole 2 sides of Aegon that you're seeing where, you hate him sometimes, but now you're kind of like, damn, like you just aren't ready for this. Like, you should just be like, Viserys should have lived for another 20 years, and then you would have been a great king, probably, or a better king, but he just isn't ready.
Yep. No, they don't. The book, none of these characters are sympathetic characters. They all kind of suck in the book, so it's nice that they're fleshing them out and putting more depth to them.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, at least his dragon likes him.
Bro. Anybody who has a dog and has ever came home tipsy to pet their dog.
Oh, yeah.
understands that scene with it.
He was hammered too.
He was hammered, and it nudges him, and he just this big smile and like kind of brings it. I could relate to that scene so much.
Right. All right, let's go to Harrenhal. So Daemon's just roasting the heir to River Run. He suggests he should put a pillow over his grandpa's head, and he says basically the fish has no head, and no wonder his bannermen started a war. Like, so things aren't going too well in River Run. I'm surprised he hasn't made someone kind of rule in his place if he's just bedridden in a coma, basically.
Yeah, and it's interesting because last episode when he was talking to them, that old guy was like, well, you know, the lord of the house is bedridden, useless, so we don't really listen to him. And Daemon had that line. He said, everybody should still obey their liege lord, no matter what the health or the situation. You could tell he was thinking of Viserys almost, when Viserys was bedridden and dying, and he was still like, well, you should still respect him. But now he's telling him to smother him in his sleep so that he can give him his army. So it was kind of the flip-flop there, Daemon. But,
Thanks.
Bro, Daemon is just stressing me out in Harrenhal. I mean, we need him more than anything right now. And this fool is slipping out of dreams into being in the middle of a council meeting with a new house. Like, I mean, his first scene was cutting off Rhaenyra's head. The first scene of this episode was like, this fool is a mess right now.
Yeah, because it's Rhaenyra sitting on top of the throne, which is kind of the opposite of what happened in season 1, where she walks in and he's sitting on the throne. And he's basically just atoning for all the sins of his past. He's following Aemond around, but when Aemond turns around, it's Matt Smith.
Was it?
Yeah,
it was Matt tell.
Smith.
I knew it wasn't Aemond, but I was like, did they just hire a random older actor to be an older Aemond, or is that him seeing himself as Aemond?
Like a Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader mask kind of thing, you know.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then Alice Rivers shows up when he in the middle of his trip, and you were talking about the different accounts of her. Mushroom says she bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her youth. So that was
so
the one that he said. Yeah,
so dramatic.
And she says that when they built Harrenhal, they knocked down the Godswood. So the weirwood trees. So that is probably a reason why things are not going very well.
Oh, yeah. She said she said the bed he was sleeping on was built with the wood from those weirwood trees.
Oh, my God.
And then she was like, are you experiencing anything weird? As he's seeing like unicorns in front of him. Like, no, things are normal.
It's probably Bran while he's king just, I'm going to go now.
That's where he went during the battle at Winterfell. He was just watching Daemon.
He's fucking with Daemon.
This guy has no idea where he is right now. Watch this.
Oh my God. But she's brave to be saying all this to him.
Yeah.
She's like calling him out. You know, you came alone. You haven't sent any ravens. Like this little girl who bounced on your knee is your ruler now.
Which makes you think, she's got it. I mean, obviously she's an aspect of him tripping out here, but like she's saying stuff that relates directly to the visions he's having too. Mm-hmm. Like, so I have to wonder how involved she is. And yeah, she's got balls, just like Maggie the Frog from Game of Thrones, where she talks to a young Cersei and she kind of reads her fortune about how her kids are going to be dead. You know, you'll have 3 kids, but the king will have 20. So there's a lot of parallels there. But yeah, these witches who have these foresight, man, they have balls when they're talking to powerful people. They just straight up say what they want and have no fear of repercussions. Probably because they can see the future and know they're not going to kill him. I don't know, but she was talking to Daemon with some balls there, that's for sure. And Daemon being afraid to eat peas because of the poison, but then he just downs this drink that this witch hands him. Like, it's bold play, but
I think he's very intrigued by her. That's why he doesn't hurt her.
For sure. Yeah.
She's a very interesting character. I hope she sticks around because I know it looks like in the next episode Daemon's still there. I think everyone kind of meets him there. It looks like what's going to happen.
Apparently he's dying there, so yeah.
Yeah,
can't
right.
go anywhere.
Let's go to the Black Small Council meeting over on Dragonstone. So everyone's arguing until Corlys comes in. I love how he just kind of settles things like, what happened to this council? What happened to these men? And everyone just kind of sits down like, yeah, we need to stop bickering so much. And then Rhaenyra finally comes back, and Jace is not happy. And she just tells them right away that she met Alicent to sue for peace. I'm surprised she was so honest in front of everybody.
Pissing people off left and right, Rhaenyra. They were already pissed, and you just admitted to risking the entire war. Risk everything just to do that, to talk with your old childhood friend. Oh, I would have been so pissed. God, dude, what are you doing? We're in the war, Rhaenyra. We need you here. Stop trying to find other ways out.
But only one choice remains. I win my claim or I die. They mistook my caution for weakness. That will be their undoing. Which is so sick. And then the whole time, I'm like, it's got to be Rhaenys. Like, Jace is stepping up. She's saying she'll go. And then the perfect choice is Rhaenys. I mean, like, just like we talked about. Her dragon's the most badass that they have. Unless Daemon was there. But I think she knows it's going to be a suicide mission or not having a great chance of coming back because of the way her and Meleys interact before she leaves, when she kind of comes up and says, ready for battle, girl, and it like leans up against her like, this might be our last ride together, girl. You know? Oh, it was so sad.
It's so hard to watch this. And I saw the trailer for this episode, and so all week it was just mixed emotions of, I can't wait for this, and I'm not ready for this. I don't want to see. I know what's going to happen. It's not going to be a happy ending with this season, and I'm just so anxious to watch it. But God, man, it's just so hard to say goodbye. Again, they're like flying dogs, and they're just awesome, magical, unique creatures that we're here to see. It was so cool to see them come into Game of Thrones finally, really onto the scene after 7 seasons pretty much, and you just hate seeing them die. So yeah, that was a tough scene with her and Meleys. But one thing I wanted to point out with this sequence, I love what I am seeing out of Jace. I love it. He's got spunk. He's got the Daemon pose going on with his hand on the hilt. Like, he literally looks like he's got that sassy Daemon pose where he's kind of leaning into it. He's got his hand propped on the sword. Like, he looks like he's got the Daemon swag. And honestly, I appreciated how he kind of snapped at Rhaenyra. You know, he was like full on lecturing her about, what are you doing? We need to do this. Like, he was not afraid. He was doing it in front of the council, but I think he was doing it in a way that wasn't fully Daemon disrespectful.
No.
But was kind of like, hey, everybody's on your ass here in front of you. And to be honest, they kind of have a point. And I'm your son. Yeah. So he just handled it perfectly. And his first episode at Winterfell, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite characters. So I don't know. It's probably going to be painful down the road, but I'm loving him right now.
Yeah. Don't get too attached to any of these characters.
Right.
But he's got style, too. I love that outfit and the little cape he's got going, hooked on one shoulder going back. Like,
bro, looks good.
He's
had
good.
a glow up
kid, yeah.
From last season with the mullet and the red and black split down the middle shirt he was rocking, man. Yeah, I like him, man. I'm proud to have Jace on Team Black.
Right. A quick scene with Rhaenys too, kind of going back a little bit. Her and she goes up and sees Alan, is that pronounced?
Alan Hole.
And she talks to him, says, you know, your mother must have been beautiful. And then goes and sees Corlys and basically says, I know who he is and why you've kept him hidden. And he should be raised up, not hidden beneath the tides. So this must be Corlys's bastard son.
Yes. So this goes kind of to something I talked about when we covered episode 3, and that is the dragon seeds. Hugh Hammer, Ulf the White, Alan Hole, and his brother Aaron, who was staring at sea smoke in episode 3, are bastards of Valyrian descent. So Targaryen, and I know it sounds confusing when you say Valyrian descent. Valyria as in the place, but specifically of House Targaryen and House Velaryon. But yes, they're all bastards. They're dragon seeds known in the book, which means they have the potential to be dragon riders. We got Rhaenys bringing this up and straight up like telling Corlys, you need to raise him like he's one of your own. Stop hiding him. Like this is potential right here. He has your blood. You need to wake up and stop treating him like you're hiding him. And even more so now than ever, after losing Meleys and Rhaenys, they need dragon riders. And so I really think next episode we're going to see it pushed even further. Like, we need you guys. We're short. And I think the dragon seeds are going to come into play big time.
Right. It would be cool because in the books, the original Game of Thrones books, there's the Red Viper's brother, I think, has that secret mission the whole time where he's supposed to marry Dany, and he thinks he has this like Targaryen blood in him.
Yeah.
So he goes down to the dragon pits to free, I think it's Viserion or Rhaegal. They're both tied up down there.
Yeah.
And he goes to free them, and they fucking burn his ass alive, and he dies.
Just gets instantly vaporized. Like,
so that could happen to one of these people. That would be kind of funny if it happened to maybe the one we don't like or the one we don't know as much.
yeah. They just don't accept him and just instantly vaporize him. But yeah, no, that's coming up. So I'm hoping Vermithor or somebody comes out of the woodworks, man. I'm really curious to see where they're going with it. But the fact they dedicated that scene to with Rhaenys as one of her last scenes shows it's going to be an important piece moving forward.
All right, let's talk about our boy, Criston Cole, for a little bit.
Real quick, before we leave that whole sequence with Team Black, how dope was that scene where they're mounting up? It's after Rhaenys volunteers herself. Jason, Rhaenyra talking. Rhaenyra's telling him the Song of Ice and Fire. He's like, she's like, look, I need to tell you about this. And the score is rising, and we're cutting between her talking to Jace, Rhaenys getting Meleys ready for the fight, and then also the drunk Aegon laughing and petting his dragon and stuff. But it's cutting between everybody mounting up for war while Rhaenyra narrates the Song of Ice and Fire. So that sequence was dope. It got me hyped.
Yeah, I love that. Perfect hype for that. I mean, I love how they built up to the end of this episode.
For sure.
It wasn't like 50 minutes of war and action, but it was a good 20 minutes at the end. It was great.
It was perfect, yeah.
So Sir Crispin has tripled his army and is claiming more houses in the Riverlands. The Lord Darkland scene, where he beheads him and he calls him Kingmaker, you're not fit for the White Cloak. Just
true.
One true stroke, though. Give it to him.
Yeah, he ain't no Theon.
Right. And he wants to attack at day because they'll never see it coming. And Alicent's brother's like, yeah, because it's madness. Like, because you're crazy. Idea. So, but Criston Cole does have these like crazy ideas. They're so rash. There's no patience to them. Like especially with Sir Eric and Arik, whichever one he sent.
Right.
But they're pretty. That one was pretty close to being, completed. And this mission, if Aegon doesn't show up, it's perfect. Like they would have taken out Rhaenys because he knew Rhaenyra was going to send a dragon, and they would have taken Rook's Rest at the same time. So he is a good war general. He's not great in the small council meetings, but he's battle tested.
So he is battle tested. I almost feel like his rashness is him, and then these plans that because I feel like this was partly Aemon's plan, where he's like, I have Vhagar in the woods, and he even gets a letter, or he gets a raven brings him something, and we don't see who it was from, but I almost feel like that was from Aemon, like telling him what to do, walking him through it. So I think I want to give the credit to Aemon on this job here, but regardless, he has gotten himself the nickname the Kingmaker. He is succeeding going through Westeros, which I hate. He continues to succeed. He's won over Sir Gawain Hightower, who is kind of a moron. But he's doing work, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Yeah. So let's get to the Battle of Rook's Rest. And I will say it sucks for all these small folk dying while Rhaenyra sits at Dragonstone talking to Jace. Like, yeah, all this crazy stuff's going on, but I'm gonna tell you about this little story my dad told me once. Like we're good to go.
The tragedy of Darth Plagueis.
So the battle starts. Meleys comes in hot, starts burning all the troops, and then it cuts to Vhagar in the bushes, in the trees, and that was just a crazy scene. And you can tell Aemon's been training Vhagar because he's almost ready to go, and then he sees Aegon fly over, and he's like, not now. He says something High Valyrian, and Vhagar just immediately lays back down on the ground. So he's definitely trained her. Aegon shows up on Sunfyre, and Cole is like, what the fuck? Like, this was not part of the plan. But he gets the troops fired up. He's like, your king's here to support you. Everyone get ready and fight. So he kind of pulled it out of his ass, and it worked. But everyone just stops fighting to watch the dragons.
I noticed that. They're all looking up.
Yeah, like soldiers are just so insignificant when dragons are involved, and you just see them like tangled, blowing like a ball of fire in between them. It was so cool how they did that.
Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful. It reminds me of Harry Potter. It's like, yeah, everybody's playing Quidditch, but really what matters is the snitch and the seekers chasing after it. What matters is what's going on in the air. It doesn't really matter what's happening down here. Like,
that's a dumb game, but we don't need to get into that right
yeah, that's another story. But dude, the shot of Aegon flying up, and he's obviously hammered, and then looking at the battle and realizing Meleys and Rhaenys are already there lighting them up, like that had to be a sobering moment for Aegon. Like, oh
yeah,
oh, there's a dragon here already. Crap.
I almost thought he might turn around.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean,
no, never mind. Actually,
that would have been a morale drop for the troops. It's your gray. He's turning around. He's gone. Is that a good sign or? Oh my god! But so right before the dragon bloodshed, I did want to say just real quick, it felt like quintessential Game of Thrones. We saw Team Green's army and siege weaponry pulling out of the woods, and seeing all the different houses' sigils on the shields. Like it's not all uniformed; it's a bunch of different houses that Kristen and his army have picked up along the way. Like it was just a vivid image of war that's here. You know, all the little houses fighting Team Green and Team Black's war. And it just felt like we're home in Westeros, seeing these different sigils pour out of the woodworks, the arrows. We didn't get a lot of it. It wasn't Battle of the Bastards as far as the foot soldiers go. But the brief moments we did get, I really enjoyed.
That was cool. Love some good arrows.
Oh, yeah.
But let's get back to the Dragons.
Yes.
So we get the fire on fire action, and then when Meleys just rips the flesh of Sunfyre. It was, oh man, that was painful to watch.
And here, Sunfyre screams.
And then Vhagar finally arrives, and she's, I'm not a fan of Vhagar after this episode, but I have to say she's majestic. Just the way she's massive. Bro. And I think this is the thing people are mad about from the book. Changing from the book is where Aemond basically says Dracarys, and he's going for both of them. It very seems like that, right?
Right. It did, but again, I kind of go back to the fact that the book is how the historians told it, and maybe they told it in a way that was more pleasing. Like, Aemond and Aegon, because in the book too, Aegon, it was a plan for him to be there. He wasn't drunk and showed up. So Aemond and Aegon showed up together in the book. And so I can buy it to where it's like Aegon showed up drunk. He ended up getting wrecked. Aemond, there's strife between those two. Aemond straight up lit him on fire knowing he was fully in the path. But then the historians wrote it as, Aegon and Aemond flew in together. And although Meleys messed up, Aemond fought valiantly. Who knows? I don't know. But I did see people were upset with that difference. But maybe that's just how it happened, and historians touched it up.
Yeah, exactly, because it's written afterwards.
Yeah.
Meleys and Rhaenys and their names rhyme. That's why they're destined for each other. She doesn't back down from a fight. Like, you think, like, I was just like, just leave. Like, Aegon's on the ground. He's fucked up. Like, Vhagar, you can't take Vhagar by yourself. Like, maybe, like...
Yeah.
But not good odds. So I was hoping she would leave, but she just has this look in her face. She's like, no, I'm coming back. And she tells Meleys to attack.
Yes.
And she has the agility advantage. And, she does kind of defeat Vhagar. Doesn't take her out, though. But the carnage when Vhagar lands on the ground.
That was crazy.
Soldiers getting crushed. She's watched her foot stomp two soldiers, smashed in an instant.
It was sick.
And then, like we talked about, Rhaenys is flying away, and she's looking all around the battlefield, doesn't see anything, and then as she's going over the castle, about to leave, Vhagar's right there. So somehow Vhagar just flew low in the around.
No idea.
Yeah, savage bite to the neck, and just how Meleys and Rhaenys look at each other in the last second too before they fall.
Bro, and right before that, Meleys looked back at Rhaenys when they were flying, and it was kind of a look of like, job's not done kind of deal. Like, they made eye contact, and then she said again, attack Meleys, and it was like, oh, they both know they're not coming back from this. It was tough, but I want to say, so I was hyped. Meleys took out Sunfyre. I'm like, let's go, she's a savage. Which, sorry, this is another side thing, but did you notice the soldiers getting melted by Sunfire's blood Like,
No.
Sunfyre got cut on her belly, and on the first one where she almost crashed to the ground and she caught herself last second and flew, and almost hit the soldiers, blood is pouring out of her stomach there, and it's landing on the soldiers and it's melting them. They're like screaming in agony as steam is pouring off of them after this. So the dragon fire or the dragon blood must be like boiling hot.
Yeah.
Because it was like somebody dropped hot oil on them. I was like,
God.
I never even considered that. But yeah, Sunfire's blood straight up melted some soldiers. So that was pretty crazy.
And there's that scene where Criston Cole afterwards, where he checks on that soldier, like, get up, and he just pushes him, and it's literally ash and bone inside.
Which was sick.
It was a sick scene.
Good armor. But yeah, no, it was a great scene. But dude, Rhaenys and Meleys, absolutely legend. Absolutely. I was taking note because when Sunfyre crashed, which I don't know how they're alive, we'll get to that, but Sunfyre crashed, there's an explosion, and then Meleys is still flying around. I was like, she's going to her death here. She's going to her death. She does the upside down maneuver. Vhagar just snatches her out of the sky. But Meleys got that takedown point. Meleys got the points there. She won that exchange because Vhagar ended up crashing to the ground and Meleys caught herself before hitting the ground. So she straight up got a takedown on Vhagar. She cut her belly open too. Like, absolute legend. Huh?
He cheated.
Yeah, he cheated at the end. That was garbage because head on, Meleys pulled up the upset. Like, first ballot Hall of Fame, Rhaenys and Meleys, absolute just top of the top after that performance. Hell of a performance there out on the Battle at Rook's Rest. So
I know.
That was just so sick the way they handled themselves. And I don't get how Vhagar got behind the castle. Like you said, I don't get how Vhagar snuck around, was hiding behind the castle that low, and then got the jump scare on Meleys. And I also wonder if they were leaving the battlefield or if they were surveying it and about to turn around. But it kind of looked like we were talking about earlier before the episode, like maybe, okay, both dragons are down, I guess we can leave. And then Vhagar just snatched it. But Vhagar is bitch made, biggest bitch in Westeros, because she keeps only winning by jumping out of nowhere and cheap shotting people. And you know what? That's pretty bitch made in my book. So Vhagar, I don't know. You suck.
Right.
I got nothing clever for you. Take that. But yeah, she's pissing me off.
I don't like watching dragons fight, but if Vhagar died, I wouldn't be super upset.
I'm ready for that one. And I hate it. I didn't enjoy watching Sunfyre die. That was brutal. Her screams were brutal. Her crashed on the ground. Vhagar, I'm ready. I'm ready. Get the kill shot ready.
Right. So the aftermath, Cole is basically the one that wakes up from whatever happened. He got knocked out from whatever explosion. He runs over to Aegon, and Aemond is standing in front of him with the sword out. Looks like he's about to maybe give the mercy blow to kill him, which is pretty crazy. And Cole stops him. I mean, probably thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't kill. It's Kingslayer. Like
what? Yeah, what happened there? Okay, so that's how you perceived it. Was Aemond was about to finish the job until a witness showed up?
I think so. I mean, his sword was out. Like, he sheathed it afterwards.
It was out, and my thought was he already did it or something until we saw the next dawn, and it sounds like Aegon might be alive. But yeah, he let Aegon get hit first. He told Vhagar wait instead of going and joining. He let him be the bait, and then he lit his ass up to the point where Aegon, said, "Oh, thank the lords that Vhagar showed up," and then he goes, "Wait, no," and he puts his arm up, and he gets straight up melted by Vhagar's fire. So there's a lot of trickery going on with Aemond there, but yeah, that was a wild little scene there. But how's he alive? How? They fell like 300 feet. And Sunfyre was on her back as they fell, and they hit the ground so hard there was an explosion.
Right.
After getting her belly ripped, and she looks alive when Aemond walked up. Was she? I don't know. What did you think of that?
Maybe he has a little Dany in her, not total Dany, but a little Dany where he has a little fire retardant in his skin. Maybe just a little
fall though.
I know. Well,
I just don't get it.
In the book, it says that Sunfyre lost a wing. One of her wings is lost. She's pretty messed up. But Aegon has broken ribs, a broken hip, burns that cover half his body, and his armor melted to his left arm. Yeah. So his left arm is it says he's bedridden for quite a while. So he definitely is pretty messed up from this. Like, it's not like he's up and about.
Right. I figured he'd be mush. They fell from a long... So that was my only gripe. I just felt like, okay, if the story is he does survive, maybe you could have had, like, Sunfyre falling and, like, turns over last second and slams on her belly and drags across. Or, you know, but they had her straight crash behind the trees and a massive explosion go. I just felt like they could have done it differently if he was going to survive. Mm-hmm. But that's my one nitpick of the episode, really.
Right. So, like you said, Aegon was a part of the plan. But from the ashes, only Vhagar rose. And all three of them fought at once, like you said, but Aemon didn't try to kill Aegon. But there was a good quote from the book. There came an answering war. 2 more wing-shaped appeared. The king astride Sunfyre the Golden and his brother Aemon upon Vhagar. Crispon Cole had sprung his trap, and Rhaenys had come snatching at the bait. Now the teeth closed around her. Yeah.
Hate it, bro.
I know.
Hate it. Especially because they kind of played it in the trap. Like, we were super stoked about Rhaenyra finally taking action. But unfortunately, the action she was taking was literally playing into Team Green's plan. So,
way to go.
That's tough. It's tough. If Sunfyre wasn't there, in the book, they word it like this. In the book, it says, perhaps if it was Meleys against Vhagar, she stood a chance. But with Sunfyre there as well, there was no hope or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I almost wonder what would have happened if they just had a solid one-on-one. I don't know. I believe in Meleys, man.
I think she would have got her.
Bummer. Damn you, drunk Aegon. So drunk Aegon kind of saved the day, if you think about it.
Right.
Yeah, that's wild.
Did you have some questions or expectations for the rest of the season?
Yeah. So, well, you know, we get the next episode preview, and a couple of people are like... I think Alicent was like, is he alive? And there's a couple other clips where it suggests that Aegon is alive and he's just on death's bed, but he makes it back to King's Landing. Mm-hmm. But somebody says a line that pissed me off, and they said the people are being told that Aegon killed Meleys and Rhaenys, and that just boiled my blood hearing that. Oh, that makes me so mad. Don't disrespect my princess like that, man. He had nothing on her.
That was probably Aemon's idea, though, to keep him kind of clear from it, you know,
or Kristen's idea, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that was somebody's. I don't know where Aemon's at this point. He seems hell bent on Aegon now dying and him taking the throne, but we'll see how that plays out. But my question, so it kind of already got brought up when we talked about Corlys and Rhaenys earlier in the episode, but with the dragon seeds out there, do you think we're at episode 4, so we're halfway through the season. Do you think in the next couple episodes we're going to see new dragon riders being born or being brought into the fold? Do you think we're going to get that in the next couple to set up the last end of the season here?
I do, because I think Corlys is going to kind of grant her dying wish that wasn't her dying wish in the moment and bring Alan up as a member of his family and then bring him to Dragonstone with him. Yeah. And then maybe he kind of sneaks off to the dragon pit, sees a dragon flying around, and hops on that thing.
Boom, bang. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. And
Alan,
then...
I'm calling it. And then they had that...
Alan, okay.
Was that scene in this episode? Oh, it was last episode when Aegon embarrasses Aemond.
Yeah, last episode.
And they're having that conversation at the bar. Which guy was that?
That was Ulf the White.
Okay, we haven't seen him before, right?
They showed him briefly in episode 3 of him like looking at something, but he didn't have a big scene. But that was the second time they mentioned him. And yeah, he's sitting there straight up saying in a bar, hammered, like, oh yeah, Viserys and Daemon are my half brothers. It's like, you might want to bring that down. And then the king just walks in and goes, oh, there's one of your half brothers right now.
Yeah, like,
or no, there's your nephew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. God. So I just. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to ask you was regarding dragons. So as far as CGI, how do you think this holds up to Drogon in Game of Thrones as far as the dragon action goes? Do you think it looks just as good? Do you think it looks better, worse? What have your thoughts been on it?
I think they went all out for this episode in particular. It looked really good this episode. There's been a couple scenes, like the one... I mean, I know you praised the Daemon Caraxes scene in the dark. Yeah, but I think they kind of cheated a little bit doing it at nighttime. You know what I mean? Like
it's a cheat code.
It's a cheat code, yeah. But
Especially
these
in
ones,
the rain.
yeah, in the rain at nighttime, it's easy. But this episode, it was broad daylight, first thing in the morning, like, and especially with those fireballs going back and forth as they were tangling in midair, like, it was great. And we haven't seen that. Drogon never fought. He fought Viserion, right?
No, I don't think he did. No, he did. He did. Yeah,
He
they
did.
fought at night. Remember, because they both came out of the clouds with the moon in the background. We got one
yeah.
the super iconic shot. So they did fight a little
right.
bit. Yeah.
But they did it all at night.
Yes.
They cheated. So
Yes.
yeah, this is better then.
It was in the darkest episode of the history of television is when they fought. So yeah. Okay, so I feel the same. I feel like even going back and rewatching season 1, because I'm rewatching Game of Thrones right now, so I'm seeing season 5, and so is Drogon. And some of the scenes with him didn't look perfect either. Going back and watching it, some of the scenes, it's like, all right, it doesn't look amazing. But there's been parts in season 1 where I thought Cyrax looked a little not great in certain shots, just not clean, realistic, I guess, in some of Cyrax's CGI shots. So I was almost getting skeptical. I was like, maybe it's not gonna. But this episode totally stepped it up. I felt Vhagar looked incredible when she stands up for the first time to come off of the tree line, and the people at Rook's Rest see Vhagar starting to take flight. Like the way they showed size in this episode between Meleys and Sunfyre, Meleys just dwarfing Sunfyre, and then Vhagar showing up and the roles just switching to Meleys being the time. No, I thought they absolutely nailed the dragon CGI in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've been teasing us because in the first few episodes there hasn't been a lot of dragons. Quick little dragon scene here and there.
There's always one like epic dragon moment of where it's just them taking off in the last few episodes, and then that's all we really get. But yeah, we got it this time.
So I'm sure the next few episodes will be a little cooler, and then I bet the finale pops off again.
Yeah, let's just say, JD and I talked about the battle at the Burning Mill at the start of last episode, which is the Brackens and the Blackwoods. It's a feud, one of the oldest feuds in all of Westerosi history. Same thing, nobody even remembers how it started. It's been going on for so long. And the battle at the Burning Mill was a savage battle that really kickstarted the Dance of the Dragons with like tens of thousands of people being slaughtered. And episode 3 opened up with that, them
aftermath.
talking trash, and then it just zoomed out to thousands dead in this field.
Dude.
And I was a little bummed we didn't get some of the action because it's but they saved it for this episode. I'm good with them skipping the battle at the Burning Mill if we got this episode that we just got there. Use your budget wisely. So yeah, no judgment there.
Aren't they still beefing in the Game of Thrones series, or isn't there mention of them beefing? Or are they wiped out by then? I feel like they're mentioned, like Tyrion, or
they're
like
mentioned.
someone's.
I think they're wiped out by then, though. But they're mentioned. And Daemon talks to that Blackwood dude in this episode,
Right.
and he makes mention. He goes, I tried to court Rhaenyra years ago, and that's the kid we saw in season 1.
Right.
We got that episode where Rhaenyra's being courted by all these people, and a Blackwood steps up to court her, and he's like 10, and this Bracken behind him starts laughing at him like, "How are you going to protect her? You're pathetic." Brawl breaks out, Rhaenyra leaves, and then we see the Blackwood kid kill the Bracken guy, the older dude.
Yeah.
So I think that was him. He was literally saying, yeah, I courted Rhaenyra years ago. I was waiting for him to be like, yeah, I stabbed that Bracken fool through the chest there. But like, little Easter egg there. We saw the guy from season 1 pop out. It's pretty funny.
Oh wait, that was after. He's alive somehow. He's the last surviving.
Apparently he didn't fight at the battle at the Burning Mill because he's still alive.
Wow. All right, well, thank you for joining us for this amazing episode of House of the Dragon. Cannot wait for the rest of the season. This is our number one priority with the Acolyte and the boys not being on the same level, sadly. So it is what it is, but at least we have House of the Dragon. Thank you for joining me, Dave. Had a great time. And of course, don't forget to follow us on social media. This episode will be on YouTube. We know we got Trust and Riverside for this one, okay? And stay tuned for our coverage of the second half of The Boys and the finale of The Acolyte. And Deadpool. What, 4
Coming
weeks?
up.
Deadpool?
Yeah. End of the month here. Stay tuned.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. Wild.
All right, thank you. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time on Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast.